24th?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a good thing I live close.
Do you have a card with you?
What's that?
Do you have a card with
I
you?
do.
Oh, yeah. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting for May 20th, 2019. Before we get started, if we could all stand for our invocation in our Pledge of Allegiance.
God of all creation, we come before you today to give you honor and praise. You are worthy of praise. You are the source of all that is good. You are the source of all of our blessings. Thank you for every gift that we have been given. We thank you for the opportunity to come and gather together this day. We ask for your hand of blessing on this meeting. We ask that you would guide and direct our meeting so that it is full of wisdom, productivity, and respect for one another. Thank you for helping us to accomplish our work and our goals this day. And as always, those of us that chose to pray, we pray to you in the manner in which we were taught. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And what I'll do is, I asked because if anything changes like that again, I got his call at 5 o'clock, so,
Okay. That's fine.
if that happens again, I can, credit the ring.
Thank you much.
Okay,
Have a
thank
good
you.
meeting. Thanks.
So I want to welcome everyone on the audience tonight and out there watching on TV. Certainly appreciate it. While I get ramped up here, again, my apologies to the board for being a little late. Doug, I know you have a Memorial Day observance here, so I'd love to have you talk to us
Sure.
about that and tell us what the festivities are about.
As you know, Memorial Day is Monday, the 27th, but there's a lot of things that take place in the week prior to Memorial Day. And every year we write a letter to the Board of Selectmen to explain our activities. So I'll read that to you. The Georgetown Renee J. Gagnon American Legion Post 211 and the Georgetown Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 7608 invite the Board of Selectmen and all residents of Georgetown to participate with us in the observance of Memorial Day to be held on Monday, 27 May 2019. The scheduled events leading up to the commemorative march are as follows. Thursday, the 23rd of May, 10:45 a.m., the Georgetown Middle High School students present their annual Memorial Day presentation. All veterans are invited to attend. It's at the auditorium at the middle high school. On Thursday, May 23rd at 6 o'clock, we have a placement of flags on veterans' graves at Harmony, Union, and Byfield Parish Church cemeteries. And that's at 6 p.m. Friday, the 24th of May at 9:15 a.m. is the Pembroke School Students Memorial Day presentation. Again, veterans are invited to attend. And that's, you just go in the front door of the school and they'll guide you. Saturday, the 25th of May, from 8 to noon, the American Legion has their annual poppy drive. Also, I might note that Friday, the 24th, is also National Poppy Day. On the 27th of May, Monday morning, we have at 7:30 a.m., we have the morning cemetery services. The veterans and some folks meet at the park and ride, and we go to each of the cemeteries and perform Memorial Day services there. And then we regroup on Monday the 27th at 9:30. We reassemble at the Georgetown Middle High School parking lot, and the commemorative march commences at 10 o'clock a.m. And we go from the parking lot to the Public Safety Building, Civil War Memorial, and Harry Murch Park. Thank you. So on behalf of the VFW and American Legion, we invite you all to attend, and I hope the weather is great.
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it. So for those on the audience and watching from home, you may have noticed we do have another board member, a different board member this evening. So Mr. David Twist, congratulations on being elected to the board.
Thank you.
We certainly look forward to working with you in looking over everything that we do to move the town forward. So congratulations again on that. So before we get to anything, we have a reorganization of the board that we have to go through. So with that, Janet, if you could.
Okay, well, start by taking nominations for chair. So does anyone want to make a nomination for chairman of the board?
I nominate Joe Bonavita.
Anyone else?
Second that.
We don't have to second it.
I'll nominate Joe as well.
Yep, well, he's nominated once, so that's good.
That's good.
Yep. Are there any other nominations? Then we would take a vote. So we only have one nomination for chair, so we would take a vote. And it's a roll call vote. So vote for
Journey,
Joe
aye.
Bonavita, yeah. So Journey is a yes. Do you want to start at one end? Gary? It's a roll call vote, so.
Nay, Bowler, nay.
Nay.
Twist, aye.
Doug?
Oh, me? Dawes, nay.
I guess, Joe, you can vote?
Yes.
Yes. So there's 3 yes and 2 nay. So Mr. Bonavita is chairman. And now, Mr. Bonavita, as chairman, you take over the nominations for clerk.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Janet. Appreciate it. So if we can hear some nominations for clerk, please. Do I hear any nominations? I'd like to nominate Kip Durney.
Okay.
Any more nominations? Any at all? Okay, another roll call vote for Kip as clerk.
Fowler, aye.
Twist, aye.
Bonavita, aye.
Dawes, aye.
Okay.
Journey, aye.
Congratulations, Kip.
Thank you.
That was a close vote. All right, fantastic. All right, so moving on to our agenda this evening. As you heard, first of all, we had a public hearing that we still have to open, right? Even though we'll pass it over. So I'd like to open up the public hearing that was scheduled for this evening. Do we need a roll call vote to open that, or we
No,
just
no,
open,
just
right?
a
Okay, so
motion.
we're gonna open that. So if we could,
I'd like to make a motion to continue the public hearing for SQF LLC Tilson, request to place a new utility pole for an AT&T small wireless facility in the public right-of-way to Monday, June 24th, 2019 at 7 p.m.
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? No? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Thank you. All right.
Oh,
Sir.
Oh, should we have had a date for actual?
He did it in the first motion.
Yeah.
He did everything at once.
Yeah, June 24th.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
I was wondering if the town was getting a rental for it,
Anyone?
rental for the cell tower.
Yes. Very minimal amount.
Right?
Yeah.
A very minimal amount. When it's on a town right away, if I had that in there. I want to say it was
Something like that.
250,
270.
270.
Two.
So it's not like when it's on a private place.
Yes.
Yeah.
270
A
annually
year.
is what I read.
I know it's a very small area transmitter, but I just figured that we should get some rental for it. So I thought I'd ask.
I think $270.
Annually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In, if I may, isn't that, if I remember correctly, it's been a while since I looked at it, but that's stipulated by the the FCC,
That's
right?
correct.
So we don't have really any control over it.
Nope.
They tell us.
Is it only one?
At this point,
At this point, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not a whole, not a huge opportunity there.
Well, it's only for one carrier.
Yeah.
AT&T. It's only for one carrier, AT&T. So there's no,
One pole as a.
right. And the distance before you need another pole is someplace between 500 and 1,000 feet, depending on what's, obstructing it. So,
I'm catching up on it and being fairly new, as is tonight. What I read was $270 a year per the FCC, $270 per year, or a fee reasonably justified. But you have to prove that it's justified. It is in the House of Legislators right now being appealed, but we don't have an outcome for that. So until they rule whether or not they feel it should stay or go, we're kind of at the mercy of the current law.
Okay, just kind of curious. Also, for the parking lot that you were going to talk about.
Okay. So so I'll get to that actually if you're interested in that. So that's the police chief memo regarding the parking at 51 West Main. Yeah.
71 East Main Street?
no, he's talking about the park and ride. You talking about the park and ride parking lot?
Oh, sorry, I can't hear you well enough.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll just move up. Part of the written announcement, there was consideration for parking on, I think it was 50 or 70 East Main Street? West Main Street.
Yeah, West Main,
Okay.
51 West Main, right?
That's this one.
Yep. All right, so I'm going to read the letter so everyone knows what kind of we're referring to. And this is from our police chief, Donald Cummore. It says, as requested, I have reviewed the plan outlined above for 51 West Main. As presented, I would suggest that the on-street parking plan be reviewed to ensure that the traffic flow from the proposed one-way exit driveway on the side of 51 West Main Street is not impeded by vehicles parked on the public way. Additionally, with the addition of the new driveway at the 51 West Main Street project, the on-street parking should also be reviewed to ensure safe entry and egress into the residential driveway located at 55 West Main Street. Currently, the marked on-street parking spaces beyond the entry and egress of the current Sellers Antique Building and at the first entry exit location for 51 West Main Street. The only delineation for parking, therefore, is a continuous white fog line which is present until the entrance to the Richdale convenience store. Reports from the residents in the area have confirmed that parking does occur on a regular basis beyond the last marked parking spaces as outlined above. There are no signs posted in this area as to whether parking is allowed or not. Given these complexities, it would appear that the on-street parking plan would need to be included in the planning phase of the new residences proposed, as well as the addition of the new exit-only driveway. As always, should you need any additional information, please do not hesitate to contact my office. Respectfully submitted, Donald Cummore. Did you?
Oh, no, it sounded like they were putting a new parking lot like the one for Park and Ride, just from the way it ran. This is for the condos that.
Yeah, the townhomes, yeah, that they were looking to put where the Settlers location is.
Okay,
Yeah.
I guess I can leave.
Well, you can certainly stay as long as you want.
Clarified it.
Stay and listen for a while.
Yeah, no
You're
doubt.
welcome to.
Okay. So next on the agenda, Stantec Mass DOT border.
Can I ask a question about that, Mr. Chair?
Oh, which one? I'm sorry.
On there, is that he's just informing us of that? I mean, he's not,
Yeah, 'cause the parking on the street
Yeah.
would be come before the Board of Selectmen. The parking on the property would be in front of the planning board.
so is there going to be a need for us to look into this further? I guess
Yeah,
that's my
eventually, yeah.
question.
He just wanted to give a notice because he reviewed the plans and
Right.
he wanted the board.
It was just a
to be
notification.
aware
Yeah.
That
'Cause, I mean,
This is gonna
we
be
do
coming.
also have a, well,
Traffic.
traffic study committee. We kind of only meet if needed, but then that's made up of Peter, I think it's Jim Rodden and myself at this point.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I might be able to help you out, Doug. When the zoning board voted to allow their
Yeah, well, I
piece
saw
of it.
this was to
Yep,
the zoning board, yeah.
The recommendation was to have an entrance go in where Settlers is now.
Yeah, I seen
And then
all that,
come
but
around the
we have-
back.
Right.
And that prompted the question about parking in front of Settlers and beyond. If someone's trying to come out and there's someone parked there, it's a little bit harder than it normally already would be
Yeah,
to exit that. So that's how that was.
right. I can see that, and I mean, I myself have parked in that area when the marked spots are full. You know, it's wide enough for parking, so you park, but I mean, so I think what they're saying is perhaps, does the town want to consider maybe marking it further? I don't
Or
know
making
if
it
that's what he's,
Correct.
because, but according to this, I don't think planning allows any on-street parking per anything, correct? But,
I don't think the on-street comes under their jurisdiction. I think that's what the chief had said to me.
what's that?
The on-street doesn't come under their jurisdiction.
No, it comes through us, right?
No,
Comes
usually
through
when
the plan- it
something
comes
is
through the
going in
Selectmen.
front of planning, you have to prove that you've got adequate parking.
Right.
I don't think on-street parking can be included in,
Right,
It is
yeah.
in that development
Yeah.
plan, yeah. But still, it's a good plan to have parking if needed out there.
Right. Joe?
Mhm.
David, can I ask you a question? In your time on zoning and going over this Settlers plan,
Yes.
was street parking discussed
The
by the zoning
parking,
board?
the parking that was discussed, there was adequate parking based on the plan within the development itself. So if you imagine where the Settlers building is, there was parking on the side and then around the back. The main concern that I remember, that I recall, was that if you had cars coming in and cars coming out of that same entrance, it was gonna get a bit busy. And the second concern from a resident, which is adjacent to the Settlers building, was concerned about plowing snow, people coming out of there, coming in and out of there, because it's a tough turn to make it in, not as bad coming out to go either way, and whether or not it was gonna be one way coming out of there. But there was, as I recall, ample parking within the lot.
Right. Was on-street parking discussed by the zoning?
On-street parking was not discussed, from my recollection.
Was there gonna be any more type of commercial? in
Yes, that front building would be
there?
commercial.
Yeah, so,
There would be 12 townhomes in the back, as I
yeah,
think it was
that's what I
proposed.
thought. It was
And
gonna
then
be
the-
mixed use.
Correct.
Right.
And they gave examples of a cafe or a small business in the front, business offices up top. It wouldn't be, I don't think it was meant to be extremely high traffic, but
Yeah.
there was going to be some traffic anticipated. And the concern was making sure that the traffic flowed in and out in a manner that was safe and fair to all residents and that were abutters.
So if I may, Mr. Chair, just kind of make a statement that I think as a board, we need to be concerned. I mean, I've always felt that there's a need for additional parking, and any way we can find additional parking in the downtown is going to do nothing but help businesses. And I mean, you know, I think this project is, I'm hopeful it'll be a good project for the town, especially if it's got mixed use. And I mean, at some point, I think we need to visit this as a board, or do we pass it down to somebody else for economic development or traffic study? But I do think that on-street parking for all the businesses down there, anything we can do to enhance, I'm not sure where, you know, on economic development, if there's any plans there. I think you're a member of that board, Mr. Chair.
Yep. We have not discussed more parking, as you know, our focus has really been on the plans, you know, potential plans on, you know, running town sewer that's really been more of a focus on that board. So we haven't really discussed additional parking at this time, but certainly, if that ever came around, that would certainly drive enough business where additional parking would be needed. So I think that from a preliminary standpoint, I think it should be discussed, by traffic or another board first to figure out, what the best course of action. I mean, traffic would make a lot of sense to me, and then come back to us at that point. So,
I see, if I might, I see the possibility that parking could be eliminated there.
Well, perhaps in the general area, but then you may also.
Well, I mean, right out in
Yeah,
front of the
yeah,
building
yeah,
like that.
I think that's perhaps what being looked at. But
all right, moving on. Nick, why don't you come on up?
Yeah. How you doing, guys?
How are you?
Hey, Nick. How's everything, Nick? Thanks again for joining tonight. So for the board, I asked Nick to join. As everyone knows, that at town meeting, the merger between our light department and water department got voted down. So with that happening, the water department then called a meeting and discussed how they were going to move forward, with the repercussions of that vote. So I asked Nick to come down and talk with us about, what they voted, reasoning behind what they voted, and possibly talk about, maybe some potential plans to maybe even get back in front of the town. So Nick, again, thanks for joining yet again and spending some time with us. So can you tell us a little bit about what happened at your water meeting and kind of fill us in?
Sure. So, as we've been discussing for about 6 months, that the merger was going to save about $250,000 to both light and water departments. Fortunately, the town did not approve the merger, which is fine. As we told you guys back in January, whether the town approved the merger or not, both boards are committed to doing what's right for the residents, improving water quality, continuing the long-term success of the light department. So with that being said, because we can't realize those savings, we had to raise rates. We were gonna have to raise rates anyway. I mean, you guys saw all the rate charts; they were always going up. It was just to help kind of mitigate that rise in rates. So we voted after looking through a financial plan and going over the projects for a 25% rate increase effective this July 1st, and then followed by another 25% rate increase next July 1st. And some of the reasons behind that, we had about $1.5 million in our capital fund, but now we've built a tank on Long Hill, which is bonded, but some of it was paid for out of retained earnings. We're replacing one of our wells, Marshall's wells. That's undergoing right now, one of our oldest wells. We did about maybe $700,000 in water main work. So we've really been depleting that account. It's projected to be almost $300,000-400,000 after this fiscal year. So we want to rebuild that account back up. Also, we got future projects coming up that we need to continue to do. We're out right now looking for an RFQ on water engineers to evaluate the treatment plant. I think I told you that last time I was in here. We were just putting that together. That's out in the street right now, and we're due to open that within a couple weeks. So the goal there is to bring in an engineering firm to look at the treatment plant, because for the most part, the treatment plant works. It just needs some significant additions to get us the water that we all want in town. And then in future, the future rate hike is to cover the bonding for whatever comes out of that study. Whatever we do with the treatment plant is going to be probably $5 to $7 million project, whether it's a clear well, pre-treatment, whatever comes out of there.
Okay.
So, like I said, we were looking at rate increases anyway, but due to...
But they weren't going to be this high, right?
No, I think we were looking at 15% maybe year one, and then year two, we weren't quite at those discussion points yet.
Okay.
Part of the other part of the problem was the building that we're in. So as we discussed several times, the building that the water department is a building that the light department left 10, 20, 30 years ago, whatever it was, that we're paying $1 a year to the light department, which we're not even paying them because they don't bill us, but that's the agreement. We have no business being in that building. That building should be knocked down. Yeah. So, and part of the savings, long-term savings for the light department was putting generators there.
Yep.
And if you remember, it was about $800,000 a year in profit, plus being grid resilient in the case, in the event that the transmission lines went down again. So it's not, to us, as a light commissioner, I sit on both boards, unfortunately. As a light commissioner, we can't.
Say fortunately, no, don't say that.
Yeah, I'll talk to my wife. But we couldn't forego those opportunities. So we haven't made it official yet, but the light board will be asking the water department to leave those premises. That takes time to design and build those generators, so it's not like they have a month to get out of there. So that, so now we need to stop planning for a building, whether that's at West Street, because that's where we own land, that's where the treatment plant is. I still think even though the town didn't approve a merger, I still think there's things that we can do between the departments together to still act as if we merged. I haven't discussed this yet with the light board, but they, as we said, they were planning on renovating their building. So if they're renovating their building, how can we still combine the departments there?
Yeah.
And maybe the water department, obviously got paid their fair share, but that's a better spot for it. It's a little more industrial there. It's not inside Zone 1, the wellhead protection area that the wells are in. It doesn't put you guys in a bind with the soccer fields, because you guys are going to have to find land for soccer fields if we start utilizing that, which we might have to anyway with the treatment plant additions. But I think the less infrastructure we keep out of there might be beneficial to the town.
Yep.
So I still think there's things we can do to keep on kind of maneuvering us that way anyway. We just, the town said loud and clear they want a qualified water manager. If you guys know any, please let me know, because they're hard to find.
Well, that was one of my questions. I mean, partly, with some of that money, is that geared towards finding,
Yep. So
maybe overpaying?
Yeah, absolutely. So with our last manager, we were already top of market, and we're prepared to go 30-40% above market and pay at the equivalent rate that the light department manager gets, and try to get somebody in here with some skill that's going to hold employees accountable and is going to drive these projects to completion.
Yeah.
Nick, my understanding, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, but my understanding
How do you
is...
get a gold one? Yeah, black,
I don't know. I just...
It's new.
My understanding is that both Rowley and Groveland are having similar difficulties finding this type of manager for the water department.
It's a problem throughout the country.
Okay.
But you're right. It's very real in this local area.
So
as
my
well.
second question is, what's the reality or the likelihood of finding somebody of the caliber that we need to help correct, one, the water problem, two, manage and maintain the administration of the water department, and then three, sustain that or retain that person long term without losing them to another municipality that sees they're qualified and recruits them. I mean, this
Yeah,
is
I mean, if I knew the answer to those questions, but I wouldn't be here. We'd have that guy already, that guy Grill. But it's been a struggle. It's like I said, we paid top of market, above market, and we're getting we hired the last guy we hired we had 3 or 4 finalists, and if he didn't take the job, we weren't even that thrilled with him. Behind him was crap, people you wouldn't want to hire. So, it's a tough industry where people are, where it used to be DPW work, it's not that anymore. Now it's technical, and you have a lot of operational people that can't make that lead to the administration of the technical department. It's something the light department struggled with 30 years ago. They went through a very similar thing, and it's just that was kind of part of the hope to put these departments together. The selectmen asked, because our first plan didn't show a senior level water person as part of the staff meeting, it was just gonna be Dave Schofield, and through conversation with the select board, we decided that, it probably made more sense to do what you're saying, because then you get a little overlap, and then if, say Dave leaves, you get this other guy behind that can run it, and vice versa. I mean, in Littleton, we've been doing it for over 100 years, and our general managers have come from within inside for the last, I don't know, since the 70s. So,
You have merged in Littleton.
well, it was a little bit different. In Littleton, it was in 1912, when they went to develop a water department, they stuck it under light. So it wasn't really a merger, but they're merged departments now.
Yeah.
But that's how we've always operated that way. And it's unfortunate, because I think some of the goals that this town would like to see with the DEP and sustainable energy, and some of the goals that, Dan Cameron's famous for it online, I think if we built up a staff, in Littleton, we get it all the time. We got 3 DEP awards in the last month. We're 40% renewable. So it's just, I think, unfortunately, it wasn't maybe not presented right at the town meeting.
I would agree.
I think, some of the facts there.
Okay,
I think you did your best, and I wouldn't give up. I would do similar to what you're saying. I'd put together a list of what you can do,
Right.
and perhaps prove by doing some of it that it can be done. Do you think you can combine the building? Would there be any savings there? I don't know if you can or not.
Combined billing's
I
huge,
mean,
yeah.
You might be able to do that without having the merger, I don't know, and I agree with you. If you're planning on building a building there, why can't you just, if you gotta look for a new building anyway, why not do it there?
But you need boards to work together, and unfortunately, I sit on 2 of them, but, you're gonna be asking the light board to either give up land and let the water department on there, or rebuild the building and charge a rent.
Yeah, but
I think we can, I'm not saying it can't happen,
yeah.
but, you need,
Yeah, it's gonna be a little harder at
it's
this
hard,
point
right? The merger
to
made it
do
a lot
that.
easier.
It would've been easier, but, to me, I'm trying to think a good way of saying this. I think some of what I'm gonna say got said. I think people are concerned. We got a great light department, but if you ever seen a list of what people make, they're at the top of the list in Georgetown. So for some people, there could have been a little envious there or concern, and I think some concern came out definitely about the cost of health insurance and how, the light department has some better benefits than others. And so they may have been, well, is the water department going to go to the same thing? Are the water people going to perhaps start to be at that top of the list?
Unfortunately, that's a
So
question
some of
we've
that may have
answered
been,
several times.
and I know where that, people are concerned, and perhaps some are even envious of it, and, perhaps people in other departments in town are a little envious of that. I still think that you can prove, and I'm not one for saying, step up and strike at, throw the ball out 3 times. I've always said, you put something in front of the people long enough, it gets there. And I'm not in favor of that. But, things do come back.
Yeah, so.
And I wouldn't give up. I'd take some steps, prove that there are things that you can do, and then continue, maybe not next year, get your plans together better.
Yeah,
And,
I think we took for granted the weight that all these boards would have at town meeting, which is a fatal flaw at any town meeting. I've been doing town meetings for 20 years in Littleton. And the way you get the vote through is by getting people to town meeting and then giving them information and presenting to them. And we did none of that. So I just think we took a lot for granted. I thought, we had a lot of good conversations here. Probably 6 times I was here, and I think we figured
And
that.
healthy.
Absolutely.
That
No, they were
helps you
great
to build and
conversations.
get ready.
Yeah, and it's probably the best our boards have worked. I've been on the water board now for 8 years, and that was really the first time I've been here.
Yeah.
So I think, that was a fatal flaw that we went into town meeting with. Unfortunately, 150 people were there, and they're the ones that decided what's right for the town. For the water department, it's tough. We can't just keep pushing this off. We haven't had real managers since January of 2017.
How long do you think you can continue the run as?
We're on borrowed time. I told you back then, it's not really sustainable, and you know, be a consultant there that's just doing the best he can to get these
But
projects
aren't there
through.
other companies out there that you could get on a,
Of course,
maybe
but
like a 3-year contract to run it for you, and then that would give you 3 years to try to?
nobody, I mean, it's not really what's best for the
Right.
department. So we need to go forward and hire a manager. And we have to do that. We can't keep on
Yeah,
spinning our
that's
wheels
okay.
here. That doesn't mean the merger's done.
Well, if you hire someone, then.
It changes that. It changes economics. But I mean, Joe had said, and he said several times, I don't think economics were a driving factor for at least the chair. They were for me. You know, I was trying to mitigate, you know, rising rates all the time. That's what we do in Littleton. But there are other benefits there, and leadership is for sure one of them. And you know, short-term expense at the expense of long-term gains is still maybe a good thing.
Yeah.
So even if we have to hold on to a water department manager short-term until we get through this, I don't know. We're adding a high-level water guy anyway, so. But it's tough. We have to pick up our pieces and hire a manager and keep moving, because otherwise it's going to
So
look
now
real.
that's
It's going to look real
you
bad.
know, if you hire a manager, that would get later make the merger.
No, we're assuming we can
And
find one.
now was the time, because you didn't have a
Yeah.
manager.
So I mean, these things can go in parallel courses, right? You know, we're dusting up the advertisement now. By the time fall town meeting comes, we'll know what we have. Should hopefully either have a person by then, or no, we don't have anybody. Then at that point, you bring it back again, you have nothing to lose.
David, go ahead.
That was my question. If you can't, and I don't want to sound negative here, but I know you guys have been at this a while, trying to find somebody that's qualified enough to run the department, you know, putting offers out on the table, not getting the candidate that you would, as you said, maybe settle for it, at least to get the job done. But you're looking for the highest level manager you can find, and many other towns in this Commonwealth are doing the same and can't find them. So my hunch is that unless you get a rabbit in a hat, if you get to the fall and you don't have a qualified candidate, what's plan B?
You're looking at it. I mean, there is, to keep on trying to hire a manager or bring it back to fall town meeting. You know, at that point, I think Gary's right. You know, maybe we're again going back out for a firm to come in and manage the place. Maybe the existing firm does another year.
And with that said, they're just managing. They're not trying to drive anything forward. You know, make water quality better.
Well, they are. I mean, we've had the most progress in the last probably 14 months. You know, we drilled a new well, we got the tank online, and we did water mains. So they're very good at taking those projects and running with them. It's the management of the department as far as the personnel. They're not going to get, you know, down in the weeds managing personnel and putting budgets together. That's you know, a little day-to-day stuff for them. And they're doing it, and they're doing a great job, but the project's the easier part. Now, we could give them, you know, go out and figure out, you know, hire this engineering firm and sub with them and fix the plant. That could happen. It's the day-to-day management of a utility that's what you want a manager for. And we thought Dave
Am I allowed to make a
Schofield
comment?
Sure.
I said, am I allowed to make a comment?
Sure, absolutely.
I was
First of all, if you could, I don't know,
Okay.
did he introduce himself in location? If you could give us your name and address, please.
Stephen Pinto, 114 Thurlow.
Thank you.
I was at the meeting. I wasn't going to actually stay this long, but this is very interesting. I happen to think the water is actually pretty good for Georgetown. I was here 30 years ago. I know how much it's improved. But I think what happened at the town meeting was the lack of explanation. I think people would have been pretty well ready to accept the merger, and they asked for details. You know, you put out a number, we're going to save $250,000. It's a nice number to put out, but you know, there was no PowerPoint, there was no bullet list. You know, we're going to save money from moving our headquarters together, $25,000. You know, just a list, and how that money would get funneled into improving the water quality. I think a couple of slides, a couple of bullets,
Yeah.
where the money would go and how it would improve, I got the feeling that they would have voted for it.
You know
Several people
what's
asked-
unfortunate, Steve? You know what's unfortunate? We had all those answers. I've been here talking with the board on those same exact questions
Yeah.
several times, and for some reason that night we couldn't get the message across.
So if you have it in writing, ready to go, because I always get tongue-tied in front of a crowd, so if you have it all sitting down there in
Absolutely,
writing,
yeah.
or even for a PowerPoint, they've had some PowerPoints at town meetings.
Yeah.
And
We
so-
had an information night where 6 people showed up.
Yeah,
So it's just, I think,
Well, Nick, you and I discussed that, is that, maybe if you did the dog and pony at town meeting, even though you had done it, you've done it here 6 times or 5 times, right? Did it in an information session, you probably did it at another, board meeting somewhere, and nobody shows up, right? And unfortunately, you're gonna be prepared to actually do
Oh,
it
yeah.
at town meeting. I think that would have gone a long way. Former Selectman Sadler said it, in meeting, where he said, hey, it would have been nice to have some information, right, to your point, so that folks could actually see it, right in front of them. So, when they ask the question, someone can refer to, all right, look at your packet, page this, following this, there it is. There's what we're talking about. But yeah, it was kind of, it was fumbled. It definitely was, and I just don't think, say the all-in presentation, it wasn't that great where people were going to change their mind or say, yeah, okay.
Right.
There were more pressing points on the other side that what people were making and causing, some questions that, really weren't comfortably answered.
Yeah.
For people to vote yes. As I've mentioned today, this wasn't overwhelmingly voted against, right? I think, what was the final vote? Did it lose somewhere
Show of
30,
hands, I'd say
30, 40 votes?
Yeah. 90 to 60.
30, 40 votes.
96.
Was there a count on it?
Yeah, I think they ended up.
It was rather,
Yeah, there was a count, because I actually suggested the count.
It was
I thought it was 30,
almost,
40.
there was the nays were almost double what the yeas were.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was told it was like 96 to 64 or something.
Something
like
like
that.
that.
Yeah, so
95.
30, 40 votes. So to me, you're talking, 30, 40 votes. It's not like it was 95 to 10, right? And I think per what we're saying here, if the presentation maybe, was a little better, maybe those, because if you think about the swing there, right, that's
Yeah.
technically 15 people, right? Instead of nays, they're yeses or 20 votes, and maybe it passes.
Right.
So I think you're closer than maybe you think. It just maybe just needs to come together a little better to add,
Yeah,
what
to me,
the real benefits
it's
were.
not about being close. You had 150 people there.
And that's always, what we
It's
have.
unbelievable, the apathy in this town. I can't believe
How many people were at Littleton?
1,200.
1,200.
Same size population.
Yeah.
So it's just,
It's somewhat ridiculous.
It just makes it-
Chairman, if I might think one of the things that people said was if something went home in the mail with the students from Pembroke, because it's a fairly large school, and then the high school, that information is more apt to get home and in front of a parent.
yeah.
That
So that's a good point, David. We didn't really leverage the school. So if we increase rates over 2 years, 25 by 25, 54%, that impacts the school. And we didn't appeal to them at all. And obviously that's going to affect their budget, and they're going to have decisions to make. Them in the finance board. So again, I think we just. I was in here many nights, long nights with this board, hashing this out, and we just took it for granted.
very tough in the beginning, but you
It was great. No, it was great,
He
but it'd be,
convinced every one of us, I think.
yeah, we took it for
I don't know
granted. at
how
town
we
meeting.
voted, but I mean,
Yeah. But-
Is, have you guys had discussions with the light department further about maybe keeping this alive?
I think-
maybe bring it to the townspeople again?
So I think the light department wouldn't have an issue with it at all, because nothing's really changed for them, and there's no harm in you can keep bringing it back every 6 months, and as long as Dave's there and you have a strong manager, someone that you think you can merge under, then they're fine. It's the water board, I think, you'll eventually lose. But at the end of the day, I'm not sure it matters. I think I told you that, Joe. We had every vote lined up in support of the merger, including the finance board, and it failed at town meeting. So I'm not sure how much our votes really matter to the people. I think the select board does, but I'm not sure about.
Well, you'd be surprised if people get wind of the fact that you're going to raise rates 25%, starting X, and then another 25%
My safe
the following
driving
year,
home.
how maybe some of those votes change.
Yeah.
So,
Or at least informatively. If, let's play the scenario out, hypothetically speaking, rates go up July 1/19 by 25%. And we get to the fall and you do not have a qualified manager hired. And you decide between your board and the water board, or the water board and the light board, that you want to bring this back and revive it and give it one last push. And this time around, you're able to appeal to the parents of the students at the Pembroke and the high school, which is a big contingent of town, and you're able to do some kind of mailer in the light bill.
We did mail us.
Yep. And, announce, look, rates have gone up 25%.
So Dave, just before I forget, on that point, we're sitting down with our marketing firm tomorrow morning to start getting that information out. So everyone will get a mailer on the rising rates and what the money's going towards.
Okay.
Just so you guys know. So that should be within a couple of weeks out in the mail.
So I guess the hypothetical is if you get to the fall and you don't have somebody and you bring it back and you've raised rates once and they know that rates are going up another 25%, and that, your manager of the light department can handle the administration piece and you can still hire your consultants at a discount to do the project work, then I think that was the message that wasn't conveyed properly, and how the components of that end up trickling down to the savings. And, if we can increase the attendance at town meeting with a more detailed presentation.
Yeah, I mean,
My suggestion,
this was-
if we get to that point.
this was my crazy idea a couple of years ago, and I'll never. If you guys want to keep pushing this, then I'm with you. But I just will caution you might get the water board to vote to not support an article. Doesn't mean I don't support it, but the board in general might say, this really isn't what's best. We need to find a manager, no matter at all cost. I agree with you. I'm not so sure that person is that easy to find, and that's why I was in front of you guys a year ago, starting this spiel.
why would it be such a, we even said fall time meeting? What's the, we're talking about how many months? What is that? 5 months?
Yeah, 5 months, yeah.
In a 5-month period, they went from voting for to possibly voting no?
Just because they're tired of being in the limbo, would be my guess. I mean, I'm speaking for them, which is probably dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
But, at some point, they want to start the next chapter, whether they were prepared for it to be a merger, but that didn't pass town meeting. Now they're prepared for it to be a manager.
So I'm just afraid that it's just going to be kind of a rushed, kind of thing. That okay, we're going to find a manager, and someone comes in that you don't absolutely love, but you know what, we have to hire a manager.
Yeah.
We're going to throw another 30% at them, and
he's still
we're going to
the
go
right
back
person.
to square one.
Yeah.
Where you've been.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
For me, who's driven a lot of your projects? It's the board.
The board drives everything, which was something I'm trying to stop from happening. That's not typical for a utility.
But at this point, that might be something that you build on. Because, you've been without the manager, and you've been building on that. So to me, that's something that shows the timing is right. The board's not gonna change. Whoever just got reelected was on the board prior, right? So you got a year, the board's not gonna change, because you make up part of both. So you build on the fact that you've been driving, as a board, you've been driving a lot of these projects, and you don't see the board changing. The timing is right for a manager. And You know, that to me is one of the biggest things. If you have to hire that guy, then you may not be able to do it, and the rates may continue to go up. But on the other hand, okay, and you said you've already made the decision, I'm a ratepayer, and I'm sitting out there, and you're throwing me a 25% increase in my bill and telling me you're gonna be throwing that at me again in the fall, and I'm saying, they're just trying to cram this down my throat by rate increases. I ain't voting for it. I mean, I'm just being honest with you, how I would feel if I'm at home and I'm saying, man, they didn't like the vote that they got, and now they're gonna increase my rates 25%.
Yeah, I mean,
But, you know.
I hear what you're saying, but unfortunately,
Yeah.
people can't have it both ways. They can't keep on saying, hire a world-class manager, give me the clean water I deserve, but keep the rates where they are. You can't have it both ways. So, what's what we're
I'm just trying to speak honestly on how.
Oh, no, I hear you, and
Yeah.
that you're probably right. That's probably part of the perception out there.
Well, that might make it even more difficult to go forward, but.
Yeah. But I mean, to me, it's pretty evident in this town that people want clean water. I mean, I've been on the board 8 years. I've been hearing about it for 8 years. I got on the board because I wanted clean water. That's why I got on. So it's just not that easy of a thing to get. But I think we're making some huge strides, and with these 2 rate increases and an engineer coming on board to look at the plan, I think we'll get pretty close.
Do you have to check legally? Is that something that can be done at a fall town meeting, or it can be done at
That special legislation?
Yeah,
No, that can go.
it can go any, okay.
Yeah.
I think it's important that we realize that the water board and the light board are made up of professionals that work in those
That's
subsequent industries. And this is how they make their living. So if they weren't any good at what they did, then you wouldn't have a job. So I think we really have to take into consideration and put our trust in those boards that are professional boards like that.
Yeah.
To suggest what they believe is best for the community, because the community obviously has the final say. But I just, we have to really put our trust in that board. That's what I think you guys got to get across, so that people trust you. There's always going to be a block of people that are going to vote no.
Right.
Right? But for something like that, to have 131 people at a town meeting was surprising. I thought there would have been more.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that was on us. I think we did a bad job of getting butts in the seats. So, the more people we reached, the more people we would have made believe this was an impact to them, then I think your numbers would have been different and the vote would have been different.
I think it's the overall picture. It's not, oh, we can save $250,000. That's good. But it's the overall change, overall structure that would be different, how that economy would work best for the town.
All right, any more questions for Nick? No? Nick, thank you very much for
anytime.
taking the time.
All right,
Really
man.
appreciate it.
I told Joe, afterwards, I thought our boards worked really well together. And if at any point you need something from a light board or the water board, let me know, and I'll come in here and update you guys on our issues. I appreciate it.
No, that'd be great.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Wait, we're on a lap now? See you later.
All right. So let's go to Stantec Mass DOT border, Boston Trail request. Jen, is this, sorry, my screen keeps going dark, so I can't even see it.
The copy's dark.
It looks like,
Section
yeah.
from West Street to Boxford.
Okay.
We respectfully request that you review attached project location map and provide any comments that you wish to make regarding this project by May 20th. May 20th, today.
Okay. All right, so basically, we're going to be reviewing this because I honestly, I didn't see this part. So I haven't had a chance to review this one. So for those out there, we have a site map where there's a section of the trail that they want us to review, and have a discussion about. Are they looking for an approval from us, or, you know, would
I
they?
think just if there was any comments.
That's right. I mean, we're not looking for any kind of vote or anything like that.
And I
Okay.
believe the rec path is working with Stan Tech.
Yeah. Okay.
I did send out an email to see if someone could make it tonight, but I didn't hear back.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Hopefully someone would be here.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
It went out
about
late,
this
so.
stuff, so.
um,
So, go ahead, then. I was gonna say, any comments?
The only thing I have to say is, you know, it's good that things are happening, but they're really happening at a snail's pace, and I don't know if it's just because of the bureaucracy of it all. But there's so much of this trail that's still in dispute with landowners, and I don't know if it'll ever get done, you know? So, I mean, it's good to have it. You get a little chunk here and a little chunk here, and we've had, you know, a few million invested into it. It just doesn't seem to be happening.
I think the reason, if I may, Mr. Chair, it
Sure.
doesn't happen is because it keeps getting pushed back by the Department of Transportation. And they keep doing other sections first.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, the bureaucracy of it all, you know?
Based on what?
Based on who's got the loudest voice over at Merrimack Valley Planning, I think.
Okay. Okay. Well, any other comments?
No, I mean, the project's gonna go forward. So
Go ahead, Kip.
No, I was just gonna say, I'm not even quite sure what they're looking for in terms of comments. I mean, this trail map, or this map hasn't changed, I don't think, so I don't, why would we have comments on something that we've been looking at for years?
That's, I mean, it's,
I feel like we're missing something, I don't know.
no, I do understand what you're saying. It is, it's, you know, maybe it's,
There wasn't a lot of information as to what they were looking for comments on.
Well, maybe we need to have the rail trail come before us again.
I know, it's been a while, right? So, it can't hurt to have them come and give us at least an update.
It's close to a year ago.
It's a while, no doubt.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I think we don't really have any comments on this as of right now, until someone comes in and kind of tells us what's going on. Correct? Anybody else have any comments?
no, I mean, hopefully this is just part of the process of that. It's getting closer.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Appointments and approvals. Going down. Let's see here. So we have a request from Sarah over at the library for surplus property. And we just need a vote, correct?
Yeah, it's just a vote.
Just to approve?
Make a motion to approve the surplus property request of miscellaneous equipment as requested from the library.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion on this? Any discussion? No? If not, all those in favor? Aye.
All right.
Thank you. And all right, moving on, the requests, let's see. Request from Colleen Fiorello for appointment of Martha Lucius as an alternate to the Council on Aging, term to expire June 30th, 2020.
So moved.
Okay, any discussion on that? We're gonna give a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, you were gonna say it. Any,
No, just
no?
thankful that people are willing to volunteer.
No, and she seems to have a good background, so.
Okay. All right, So if there's no other discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Fantastic. Moving forward, we have minutes up top to approve on April 22nd and May 6th. So if we could take the minutes of April 22nd first. Do we have any questions on that?
No, I don't see anything on here.
Yeah.
So April 22nd?
Page 6.
6? 6 of 6?
On the Selectmen's report. It starts off with Mr. Bonavita.
Page 5.
Right.
I believe what the board, we didn't agree to move that workshop to tonight. We agreed to revisit when to have a workshop. If I'm reading that, it says the board agreed to move the workshop to May 20th.
Correct.
So I believe we're gonna revisit it, a date.
That was on May 6th, right?
So, I mean, to me, that doesn't need to be corrected as long as we're gonna revisit it tonight at some point.
Gary, you sure you have the April 22nd minutes?
It's page 5.
Oh, it's page
Page
5.
5 of 6.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what I say. I thought I said 5 of 6.
That sounded
Oh,
like
okay.
it.
Maybe it sounded like 6, but yeah.
Okay. Does everyone agree with that?
Yeah, but
Okay.
I would just ask, are we gonna have a proposal for a meeting date?
We can discuss that. Why don't we focus on the minutes first, and then we can discuss.
Then there was one other thing on page 4 of 6. And that was a community preservation. It said that we wanted more information, but I think sort of like what was just in front of us, they were looking for support by a certain date, so really that's kind of,
Actually, they called again, and we have another request from them. They've moved the date up, so,
oh, okay. So that's something else that we probably need to revisit then?
yeah, we'll,
Okay, and we'll get information?
they sent another letter, so I was gonna have Mike review it when Mike
Okay,
back.
Okay.
thank you.
There was no change.
There's no correction here, I just,
You just had a question.
yeah, whether,
Okay. Anybody else? All right, can I have a motion then?
Motion to approve the minutes of April 22nd, 2019.
second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, minutes for May 6th.
Motion to approve the minutes of May 6 as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion on the minutes of May 6th? No? Okay, if there's no other discussion, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, fantastic. So I think we've hit mostly everything on the agenda, but why don't we speak about setting up that meeting to have that discussion. Our next meeting is on June 10th. Do we want to have that before June 10th? David, this is a discussion regarding, they were talking about the report, on the fire department, correct?
Yeah, this report, if you want to get a copy.
I was gonna say, Jack, you send David a copy of that, please. One nice reading before bed.
If we're gonna establish a meeting, then I'd like to make sure that we establish what we're looking for as an outcome.
Yes.
What we expect of.
Well, and I was gonna say, who we want there. Do we just want us, or do we want some other folks there?
It was gonna be a workshop.
Yep.
Right,
So I would imagine we would want, the chief there.
right. Do we want
The rep from,
reps, the rep?
I would
Yeah.
think we want those who have skin in the game, as they say.
to include.
Yeah, I can't see not in, you know, letting the members, I mean, at least have a representative come, you know, as a workshop. I think you need to be careful of how many you're allowed to speak, but still, they to at least have some you know, allow them to have representation on how we move forward.
Yeah, I guess, what does the board feel about setting said meeting up, you know, with those representatives as we are still in negotiations, you know, with the contract that is.
One of the things this report said was, you've got to get that done first before you move ahead. I think it was in here 3 times to do that first. Get that department. Do you make an effort to get that department in order? So, yeah, I know we're in negotiations with them, but I think we all can move through that. You know, because there's a lot to take in here. I mean, I'm not just talking about getting that in order, but out of that, I would hope, maybe we all need to revisit this. I mean, you know, how are we gonna move forward with what we see as the future of the department? I mean, that's, it. You know, it also says that your townspeople, you need to hold a meeting with the townspeople, it said in here. Sort of like what we just went through with the water department merger. I mean, you know, if we're talking down the road spending more money on you know, the public safety building next door, at some point, we gotta start educating the people about it and the need for it.
Well, we should expect a plan. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in.
No, it's all right, go.
We should expect a plan from that department of how they're going to address these issues. Okay, because we do have a strong chief model. We're not the people in there managing the place. So we should have some expectation from that department, in the management and the rank and file, of how these issues that have cropped up are going to be addressed and rectified, so that it can operate smoothly and, you know, going forward. Because eventually we'll be 24/7, 365, and a new building, like you mentioned. And that all has to be addressed, because the department is only going to grow.
Okay.
It's been a while since I've reviewed that,
Yeah.
but from what I remember, it's very comprehensive and there's quite a few recommendations at the back. I could see that getting quickly overwhelming in one workshop. I think we talked about it might require multiple. I think my suggestion would be for us to, you know, meet as a smaller group, include the chief, us, maybe, I don't know who else, but not expand that audience too large at first. And maybe if we review them, maybe we could find some low-hanging fruit, some quick wins for us to say, you know, what in here can we just show that, you know, we're interested, we're making progress, things that we can do, something tactical that we can really kind of get sink our teeth into. And then so those are the short-term easy wins, and then sort of have some of the other recommendations, maybe address those in the next follow-up meeting with more people to say, okay, these are a little bit more difficult. We need some more input here. How are we going to address these? So I would suggest we do it sort of iteratively instead of trying to encapsulate or try to talk about all of those recommendations, because that is like the wish list. You know, it's a
I
lot.
think that's a great plan, yes. I mean, those are just some of the things that stuck out in my mind.
Yeah.
Whether to try to accomplish all of what I mentioned at the first meeting, no. And I think you've mentioned it, you know, brought it up very well. So, I mean, I'd say you hit probably the accomplishments that we need to put on the list for the new first meeting very well.
Okay. Yeah, that would be my suggestion.
I mean, they have moved forward a little bit. There was a notice put out for looking for full-time positions that they received, I believe, 4 strong internal candidates for those positions.
Which was very good to hear.
Yeah.
Internally, I mean, good work.
So it seems to me that there are efforts. I don't know. I can't say what size of an effort. It seems that there are efforts. People realize that it can't go on the way it's going, and that steps are being taken. But I think we all have to be on the same page with that, you know, just so that it does, because we can't have, well, I'll just stop there. So do you want to do that at the next, at the June meeting, Joe? or-
Yeah, no doubt. Memorial Day, that's June 3rd?
No, Memorial Day's May 27th.
May 27th,
Next
yeah.
Monday.
So why don't we have,
Is the 10th.
I thought June 3rd was,
That's the first Monday in May, I think.
right, in June, right?
The 3rd is the first Monday.
So why don't we have a meeting on June 3rd?
We should have one on the 10th.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah,
Well,
10th
next
will
Monday
No,
would be the
but-
27th, and then the next one
One
was
of
the
the things
3rd.
we talked about was this was a workshop dedicated to that. You know, you can
Right.
have it here, you can have it on the second floor. I typically in a workshop, you know, we can have somebody taking minutes on that, but I don't know.
All right, so why don't we do this? So I think we need the chief there.
Yes.
Most definitely, right? So let me reach out to Chief Mitchell first. Let me see what his schedule looks like. I think he's the absolute necessity there for the first meeting, unless there is anybody else who feels there's a necessity for that meeting, that first meeting. No?
Well, do you have any date, let's say, is there any dates in June that people can't make? I guess sometimes on this board, I mean, actually, that date's a little tough for me, but I can do it.
Which one, June 3rd?
Yeah.
All right, I mean...
No, I mean, but if that's what's best, I can make it.
Well, it doesn't have to be a Monday either, right? I mean, you know, we can pick a Tuesday. There are other days in the week, so if that doesn't work for you, we can always check, you know, another day. You know, it's not.
It can work if that's what works. If that's
So,
what I'm
all right,
saying.
no problem. Let me check with the chief. Let me see what his calendar looks like. What I'll do is I'll reach out to the board, you know, with some dates. I'll get a couple of dates from him, throw them out to the board, see what works best.
yeah.
Okay, and then we'll schedule. All right. I also, from what I understood, I know that acting town administrator, you know, Chief Cudmore had some information that he wanted to share originally in an executive session. It was going to be tonight, but he then had to go out to that training, so we had to, you know, put it aside. So I'm going to circle back with him as well, and maybe we can do it on the same night if at all possible. So with that being said, I'll just watch out in your emails. I'll send out something. Okay. Anybody else have anything else that they want to, you know, add, bring up? No? Okay. All right. Well, fantastic. Well, again, for everybody out who's joined us tonight, our next meeting will be Monday, June 10th, 7 o'clock here. Oh, yeah.
I didn't know you were closing. That's why.
Oh, that's okay.
I didn't know. Yeah, under the Selectmen's report
Yep.
on Saturday, I just wanted to let people know I attended the Eagle Scout ceremony of Francis Wood and represented the board there. And he now adds himself to a long list of scouts from Troop 51 who have made it to that high position with the scouts. And congratulations to Francis.
Congratulations.
And the
Francis.
family, actually, because it's a big
Yeah.
family thing to
Yeah.
reach that.
Great.
And I'd like to state on that I've known Francis since he was a little kid, and he has turned into an exceptional young man. And to be able to reach the height of Eagle Scout is a big deal in a young man's life. Never mind that his project geomaps all the fire hydrants.
Meant to bring it up while the water department was here, yes.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
So congratulations, Francis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Sure. Anybody else? All right, if not, can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Second.
Fantastic. Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Talk to you on June 10th.
Oh my God, it's only 20 minutes after.
What are we gonna do with that?
Record still light out.